Okay.
This is like a regular thing for you.
Is it on?
Are we live? Hi.
So, welcome to this Zero Conference 2026 Fireside Chat on the implementation of the European Accessibility Act. My name is Jürgen Menze. I'm a disability inclusion specialist at the International Labour Organization. And with me today we have Carolina Mendeksha. She's a director at Business Accessibility Forum, or BAF. And online we have with us also Inmaculada Placencia Porrero. She's a senior expert on disability in the European Commission. And so what does it mean, implementation of the European Accessibility Act? So Carolina and her amazing team have launched, or are launching today, a second report, if I'm not mistaken, on the implementation of the European Accessibility Act, which has the subtitle, I think, Beyond Compliance. As you know, the European Accessibility Act, or let's just refer to it as EAA, to save a few minutes in this short fireside chat, came into force last year in 2025 in June, and it requires products and services to be accessible. Right. Now, the report is very good. I've had a chance to read it, of course. I'm excited to ask a few questions to Carolina and Immaculada today, because the report also brings in voices from a diverse range of stakeholders, like EU institutions, of course the EU Act, the EU law, but disability rights advocates as well, and of course, importantly, private sector companies that are now required to move the needle on accessibility. And the data shows, I mean, I don't want to say too much because it's not my report, it's Carolina's and BF's report, but it shows that accessibility is on the rise, it's moving forward. So it seems to be that the EAA has a positive impact. And the report shows that the report has real stories from companies. And I forgot to say that I'm not only a disability inclusion specialist in the ILO, I also coordinate the ILO Global Business and Disability Network. That's why I'm here as moderator. And I think we're excited to bring this report to also our multinational enterprises, because the report shows real stories of how companies deal with accessibility under the EAA. So now, let's hear directly from Carolina. As I said, the report says as a framing beyond compliance, right? So why did you choose this framing beyond compliance when a lot of companies still seem to struggle with basic compliance when it comes to accessibility?
Yeah, that's thank you. Are just brave, but the leaders and the companies that are in our community are strong enough that want to share what's working and want to, of course, lead the way. So today we have this is a very important day for me, and this is the star of today's show, but also online, Immaculada joined us, who's another star, huge person, and really she needs no introduction because she was the main voice behind drafting the European Accessibility Act, and I really encourage everyone to read what we've created, because we have so many stories, and of course Immaculada and yourself are part of the discussion, so I'm very curious to hear whether you like it. I was trying to show the QR code, but I'm unable to, so perhaps someone can help me to do that, but of course the report is ready for you to see.
Excellent, thanks so much. And just in case the QR code doesn't work after all, I think your website is, can you just tell us, it's baforum.pl, right? So if you can't find, just go on baforum.pl. So Immaculada, you don't need any introduction, having worked on this act for a long time in the European Commission. So you really helped writing that act, heavily involved. So what was your hope really when you wrote this act and when it was enacted last year? What is your hope? What are your dreams? Can you hear us okay, Immaculada? it doesn't seem to be the case. So where were we? The Act, there's a so-called disproportionate burden clause.
Right.
I hope I got this right. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. But okay, there's as an escape route for companies, so that they really make sure that companies comply with the Act. What do you
This
think?
is exactly what Immaculada was saying in the report, and she highlighted that the escape route is there. However, it should not be overused. And actually, this is something that I also wanted to talk about, because the leaders and the community who actually participates in implementing accessibility never uses those escape routes. They are there, like in an airplane, an escape exit. But really, if you are trying to enter new markets, if you are trying to be innovative, you are trying for a way out, for the way in, not the way out, right? And this is exactly what we are trying to showcase in our report. And if you read it, there are so many great stories from companies, good practices, how it can be done. And it shows also that despite the fact that accessibility can be sometimes overwhelming, even the slightest step matters, and it's better to act now. And you don't have to do it alone, because our community can show you how it can be done in a very accessible way also for the private companies.
Excellent, yeah. I think it's always important to remember accessibility is a journey. Right? And every step, every little incremental step matters. And you'll never be at the finish line, but every step matters. Just checking in with Immaculada. Can you hear us okay? Can you now speak? Okay, great.
Now I can
You're
hear
nodding.
you well.
Perfect.
I hope you can hear me too.
Perfect, thanks. So maybe then also your perspective on this disproportionate burden clause. Any thoughts from your side?
Yes, I think Carolina put it very well. Well, let me start by saying that by no means this is escape route to obligations on accessibility. This provision was conceived as a safeguard that would allow companies, when they are implementing accessibility, to the extent that they are implementing, if something is overburdened or would be imposing changes that are fundamental for their product or service, then they could use this. But they could use this documenting it and assessing that it is really necessary. From my point of view, it's really important that this is seen as a safeguard and not as a way of non-compliance, because that is not possible within the legislation.
Great, thanks so much, Immaculada. Now, Carolina, when everybody will, of course, read the report today, I assume, and I had the privilege of already reading it in advance. So I saw that in some sectors, industry sectors, accessibility compliance jumped from 59% to 80% in a very short period of time. What do you think is driving this?
This is exactly what we were trying also to show, that accessibility transformation is already happening, and we are in the new era, and a lot has been done. And these companies who succeeded treat accessibility as something that is ongoing. One of our guests in the report, Rama, who's not here today, but hi Rama, said that accessibility needs to be baked in the bread. You need to smell it. And this is exactly what those companies were trying to achieve. But also we need to remember that, of course, the small steps matter, but this is extremely deeply rooted issue, and all of the lawyers and also technical staff, everyone in the company needs to know about accessibility and needs to be interested in order for the whole project to work.
Great, excellent. So Immaculada, so seeing, like, for example, these figures I just gave, from like 59% compliance to 80% compliance, does it mean to you the European Accessibility Act is working?
I think yes, it is working, but these figures trigger two things from me. On one hand, a lot of satisfaction to see that progress is achieved. On the other one, concern, because we need to achieve this 100% compliance. The requirements in the Act, when we wrote the Act, they are reasonable, they are balanced, they are proportionate, and there should be no impediment for reaching the 100%. So as I said, two reactions: satisfaction to see that progress is being achieved, but concern because we really need to get that 100% compliance with the requirements of the Act.
Excellent. Of course, that needs to be the goal, 100%. 80 is good, not yet good enough. Great, thanks. So Karolina, you're from Poland, and you have in your home country interesting model, a trilogue model,
Right.
where you have business, the regulators, and the NGOs coming together. How does it work? Explain.
This is exactly what we were trying to talk about in the report, because we wanted to share the good practice. And actually, in Poland, for many years now, we meet together every month and we talk about what's working in accessibility sphere, what's not working. And we talk with the regulators, with NGOs, with the business, and we admit to ourselves and to everyone that we do not have the monopoly on truth, right? And this is such a brave stance again. And to my surprise, it's working, because you wouldn't imagine, and you can't imagine how many interesting questions we pose. And there is not one person who can answer all of the questions that pop up. And this is exactly why we need every actor to be involved. And also, there is this quote, a cliche, that there is nothing about us without us. But that also applies to business, because they can explain that some processes just take time. And this is exactly to Ima's comment. Of course, we want 100% accessibility, but trying to provide accessibility in complicated and complex structures like in banks takes more than 2 years, right? So it's a massive project, and we all need to keep that in mind as well.
Amazing, yeah. Now I can only just emphasize the importance of inclusive consultation, bringing all the stakeholders who have something to say, who have something to contribute, at the same table. And if you're not invited, bring your own chair. Just come. I hope that's okay. No, look, Immaculada. Now, this model we just heard about that is implemented in Poland. Is that something you could consider at European regional level, since you work in the European Commission? What do you think about that?
The directive itself contains a very inclusive and collaborative enforcement process, because it allows not only users to send complaints, but also it allows economic operators to engage with enforcement authorities to discuss and to put remedies to miscompliance with the directive. In addition, the directive encourages alternative dispute resolutions in cases of non-compliance prior to bringing the matters before the court or competent administrative bodies. Also, we have a working group in which public authorities responsible for enforcement, economic operators, and persons or organizations of persons with disabilities will meet together to discuss compliance matter. The intention of the enforcement clauses
Immaculada,
is
I'm sorry to cut you off there. Sorry, you have 3 seconds. Last word to Karolina. Business leaders reading the report today, what should they do tomorrow?
And they need to read the report, because everything is in there, and I hope that the QR code will lead you to the link. And see you there, and see you in our community.
So baforum.pl. Thanks so much for having been with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. It really went by fast.
They gave us 15 minutes.